You are a construction company owner or leader. You are not an English major, but you must be excellent in your written communication if you're going to be as effective as possible in your role. And that's why I am very excited to welcome to Construction Genius this week, Joshua Lisec. Joshua is an expert in the written word. He has developed courses to help professionals communicate more clearly, and he is going to share with us today a number of tremendously important insights to help you as a construction professional communicate via the written word much more effectively. Enjoy my interview with Joshua. Check out the links in the show notes so that you can learn more about the work that he does and benefit from that. And I really appreciate you listening to Construction Genius today. This is Eric Anderton, and you're listening to Construction Genius, a leadership masterclass. Thomas Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. If you're a construction leader, you know all about the perspiration, and this show is all about the 1% inspiration that you can add to your hard work to help you to improve your leadership. Joshua, welcome to Construction Genius.
Hey, Eric, I'm pleased to be here. Thanks for having me on today.
You are a well-known expert in the realm of written communication, and in my experience working with construction companies, it is often the written word that causes the most damage. And I'll give you an example. I was chatting with one of my clients this week, and he's a young project manager, super talented, but just a little bit volatile. And he was telling me about an incident where he received an email from a supplier, and he didn't like the email, and he immediately blasted back via email, and it had a negative impact on the relationship. Can you speak to, as an expert in written communication, how to handle those kind of high pressure, emotional situations in written form?
Yes, absolutely. And this one example of putting someone on blast in the context of supplier also allows us to zoom out to how to be more effective at communication, written form, and all areas in the company at all levels, from an intern or subcontractor all the way up to the C-suite, to the president. So let's take this one example. What is the desired outcome? Well, the desired outcome is to persuade, aka to get the other person to want to do what you want them to do. That, in a short, is persuasion. And what I do is I often ghostwrite persuasive content from blogs, articles, to emails, up to books. And one of the things that we've learned is that escalatory communication is anti-persuasive, meaning you're giving someone reason to not want to do what you want them to do. And so the best way to de-escalate is to sanitize that otherwise blasting email of emotion. Sanitize it of emotion. That way, you're just speaking the facts. They can be easily agreed upon and mutually verified by both parties, and you're not making it personal. Making it personal is anti-persuasive, putting the person on the defensive, feeling like they're being attacked. The relationship is at risk. And now the problem is not the problem is the people. And people problems can derail even a profitable construction project. So I'd said sanitize it of emotion. The simplest way to do this, so that you can communicate effectively in that email, even when someone did something wrong and they need to fix it, is to eliminate the word you. Eliminate the word you. You did this. And when I sent this to you, you were supposed to do this. And you did get back with me. And you were supposed to. And the agreement said that you were supposed to. And your company and you. All of that would be considered violent communication. Violent communication. Meaning you are attacking the other person with your words. You're getting them to be on the defensive. Shields up. Cortisol is pumping now. And they're feeling that they're being attacked. And so the quickest way to get the outcome you desire in business, in your emails, is to sanitize them of emotion. Simply state facts, state them clearly, and state them without adverbs. Anyone who follows me on social media knows that I call these bad verbs adverbs. And I point out that adverbs are what we use when we lie, when we exaggerate. For example, I literally explained to you, you might have written, but from your perspective, they would say, you literally did not explain that to us. You make me very upset. Very? That sounds like you've just triggered yourself and you've worked yourself up into an emotional state. And so by removing adverbs, we can simply state facts without emotion, without aggrandizing the situation. And by removing the word you, we're no longer putting the person on the defensive. We're simply able to state fact. So this one simple adjustment to the emails you're sending in a problem context where you need to get someone to do something. And it's really helpful if you can help them want to do what you want them to do. De-escalatory, non-violent language does not put them on the defensive. Remove the adverbs, remove the you-based attacks and directions by simply stating what you need done and how it helps everyone involved. Use language like so that we can and because and in order to. Those three simple phrases are your friend for persuasive writing, because we want to make sure that we're able to pay you on time so that we can both keep the terms of our agreement in order to protect our relationship and make sure everyone feels good about it. It's not macho language, but do you really want to have a literary punch to the gut at one of your key suppliers? Is that what you want to land?
Right.
Not if you want to persuade, friends.
Let me ask you, and you got to help me here because my grammar understanding sucks. Define for me what is an adverb and why. You gave us this idea of adverbs are for lying or exaggerating, but tell me exactly what an adverb is.
Yes, an adverb is a word that modifies a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. And it's that modification that can be clarifying. It can be clarifying. It can be helpful. However, most of the time it's used to modify a lie to make it appear true. And I regularly have viral tweets about this. Now, what I just did is I used a positive example of modifying a fact. I said, I regularly put out tweets on this. Regularly modifies the explanation of
Right.
at what intervals do I do this?
Right.
I tweet out. Well, do I tweet out once? Do I tweet out? Like, you need more information. So I'm clarifying what I mean. I tweet about this a lot. So if you follow me, you will see at least once a day, I am pointing out someone using adverbs to manipulate.
Right.
This is what I do. Bad verbs, we call them. And journalists, politicians, people who have a chip on their shoulder or political points to score often use this the most.
Okay.
And so someone will say, for example, Trump literally killed millions during the pandemic himself.
Right.
And he was completely happy about it.
Right.
Totally, completely, literally. Yeah, that didn't happen.
Yep.
It didn't happen.
Yep.
And so they've taken a lie. He killed millions. Like, okay, no, he didn't. Whether you agree with the handling of the pandemic as the way that it was early on or not, Fauci or and friends or not, what we've done is we've made an assertion and we've tried to modify the assertion to make it feel true. And you'll see this often with adverbs that are all over the place inside of tweets, inside of news stories, headlines, even in official communications. For example, we now understand that, like, let's say artificial sweeteners. I know we're getting way out, seemingly away from
No, it's good. It's
talking about the
good.
construction industry,
No, it's
but it
good.
does have application with
Sure.
communication inside and outside of construction companies to get bigger projects at better locations with bigger budgets.
Yep.
So let's talk about this example of this tweet that I put out the other day. The official FDA statement on artificial sweeteners is that they are, quote, generally safe, unquote. When we hear about experimental therapies, we are told that they are, quote, very safe and completely effective, or generally effective. So what we have here is an admission of deceit. And I will regularly tell people that manipulation requires adverbs rather, and persuasion does not. If the truth can stand on its own, you don't need to necessarily modify it. The one exception is useful clarification to get your point across. For example, if I'm introducing a new topic, for the example, the fact that I talk about adverbs, and I say I tweet about it, how often, when, to what extent, if I say I tweet about it daily, well, daily is the ly word, and that's usually how you could spot adverbs, is they're ly words, or they're modifying a verb. Like, I just told you, just is the adverb, and it's escalatory language. So this is why we talked at the outset about sanitizing communications of adverbs. You completely missed my point. I needed to totally understand this.
Right.
I literally just said this.
Right.
Call me immediately. Right. Escalatory language, violent communication. Violent meaning not literally like, oh, I feel like you're attacking me, sticks and stones. Not any of that stuff. Right. We're talking, it puts the person on the defensive. They sit up in their chair a little bit and the cortisol is going. The person's biochemicals are reacting as if there is a literal physical violent threat coming from the other Homo sapiens across the savannah. That's literally what's happening. And that right there, you said the word literally, is a useful modification to describe the fact. Because what I'm describing of the biochemical experience of being put on blast in an email, it is the same experience of seeing, let's say, an enemy tribe with spears headed your way.
Sure.
You're on the defensive. Sure. Now, we don't live in that context anymore, most of us, fortunately. We do not want our friends, our customers, our suppliers, our vendors, our employees, or our C-suite feeling like you're coming at him with a spear. And that is the point of persuasive communication. If we remove anti-persuasive communication, we, by default, become more persuasive.
So let me ask you, how do I ensure that my written communication is clear? And we've talked about removing adverbs, but what is the difference between a clear communication and an unclear communication?
Yes. So unclear communication is marked by abstractions, theoreticals, free from examples. Clear communication is defined by sensory descriptions. What we know about the brain is that we are simulation creators, meaning our brains, through sensory input, generate simulations inside of our head of what the world is like. Mm-hmm. And so in order to give your...
Is that another way of saying stories inside our head?
Yes, stories are multisensory.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Here goes the protagonist down the street, and here comes the antagonist. I mean, we can see it, right?
Yeah.
So multisensory story. That is the best way to communicate with clarity, saying precisely what you mean so that the simulation in your head that your brain is running, that's a close proximity to the reality you're trying to get communicated about the project, about the deadline, about the difficulty with the client, let's say, as multisensory as possible. So what do you see? So literally describe, what do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? How does it taste even, rather than abstractions? And a good example of this is to use actual examples. So let's say, if you were to say, we need more efficiency on this project.
Right.
Efficiency is not a sensory experience.
Right.
Well, what do you mean? So what we have here is, unfortunately, escalatory language, even violent communication, defensive. Uh-oh. Does that mean you're inefficient? Inefficient. Job is at risk. Gonna get fired. Lose everything. Lose the house. The spear's coming at them.
Right.
Right? So if we were to describe, rather than we want you to stop being inefficient, we want you to be more efficient, what exactly does efficiency look like? What are you hearing from people around you to be able to tell that the project is being run efficient? How does the people around, how do they feel? How does the client feel when it's efficient? So what we're doing is we're giving multi-sensory communication to describe what you want. And this means it's persuasive. Remember, we said persuasion is you get the other person to want to do what you want them to do.
Right.
And we want to do so ethically, with integrity, not try to use a dark manipulation or tricks or anything like that, but with accuracy, with truth. And the easiest way to do that is to paint the picture of the reality that you want so that they can grasp it. Because that's the first step of persuasion, is that they comprehend what it is that you want them to do. That's the first step. That's the first step. So if we can get to that, if you describing what it is you want done in the project, in the situation, with the quote, with the conversation, with what have you, what are you seeing when the reality you want is true? And one way we hear of this is benchmarks, is milestones or deadlines. Those are literal things that we can see, that we can measure. What are we hearing from the client? How does the client feel about this? Is that a faster pace or is it a slower pace? Speak in multisensory terms.
I like that. So
and that will be, yes, go ahead, Eric.
No, it's interesting because, we began the discussion talking about how to take emotion out of written communication. And now we're talking about how to put emotion, or at least, like you say, sensory experience into written communication.
Precisely. It is the removal of emotions we don't want.
Right.
Thus allowing us to replace them with the emotions we do not want. It's the elimination of anti-persuasion, which puts people on the defensive, which is repulsive, which escalates unnecessarily and can cause a disruption in the relationship, or worse, replacing it with clear communication, persuasive communication, multisensory communication, so that the person can see what you see, hear what you hear, and feel what you feel.
And like you said earlier, there's these, as you're taking that negative emotion out, you use the phrase "so that we can," "because," and "in order." Can you
Correct.
Give us a little bit more on those particular frames there? That I found that very interesting.
Yes, and this is where we go from the person understanding what it is that you want to understanding how you getting what you want gets them what they want. Because we're defining persuasion as getting the other person to want to do what you want them to do. And how can you do that? Reciprocity, one of the great principles of persuasion and practice. Business is reciprocity. A contract is reciprocity. I get this, you get that.
Right.
And we can do so in communication to reinforce that reciprocity, to make it clear. So it's not a win-lose. You get this so I don't fire you. Right. I get this from you so I don't fire you. Because fear of loss, again, is defensive. That's a great way to get people looking for another job, looking for a way out, finding a way how they can manipulate you, get around you, put in as little work as possible to not get fired because they don't trust you. We want trust. We want to be liked, trusted, respected. As communicators, as construction people, as leaders in any industry. And so using language. Oh, yes, go ahead, Eric.
No, I'm just wondering, because let's say I'm a construction CEO and I've just bought into the company. It's the time of year where perhaps I'm hiring college grads, and maybe I've hired someone who's, they have the construction management degree, but they definitely don't have an English literature degree or an English writing degree. What would be the first steps that I could take to help them to be effective communicators in writing? How can I get them on that path?
Yes. Well, the very best one is one that I'm self-interested in. That would be my, I have several writing courses that have precisely 2,475 students as of today. And one of them, the most popular one, is called The Best Way to Say It. And it's how to communicate anything effectively, from a blog article on up to a full-length nonfiction book.
Right.
And the point is how to take the ideas, the directions, the instructions, the commands, the needs, everything that you need to put in other people's heads so that they want to do what you want them to do, and how to write that from scratch. And students regularly say, it is the first and the only program that worked. And interestingly enough, and this is a surprise to me, by the way, I was expecting that it was going to be executives and leaders who are going to say, oh, wow, this has really helped me with my communication. Those people just take the course. They spend an hour and they say, okay, I'm just going to hire Joshua to write for me. Just, what do you teach in the course, Joshua? Just do this for us.
Right.
But the type of person that benefits the most is an employee, an 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 employee, to better communicate in their job with their coworkers, with management, and increase their promotability. Right. Because they're trusted communicators. This person can get the job done because they can describe the job best to everyone else.
So let's say I'm under pressure to respond to an email in a time frame, and I don't want to do the blast, and I want to make sure I'm clearly communicating. Can you describe step by step how someone should begin to write that email so that they can be relatively efficient about it and they don't have to agonize over it for hours or days.
Yes, yes. The very first thing, and this is the first step in the best way to say it, process. You've got a communication to write. It needs to be written immediately.
Right.
To use an adverb that's actually accurate. You do immediately need to send a reply to this. If it's 4:55, Eastern time and they're in Central, that means they've got an hour and 5 minutes to read it before end of business. You better write that thing fast. Right. Here's what you do. What I recommend, because I did this myself, as I open the email to reply to, I start writing the reply. I X out the recipient's name. So remove the recipient's name from it real quick so you don't accidentally hit send. What you want is you want to simulate the writing experience where you're actually going to be sending the email. But you don't want to accidentally send the email. That's a no-go, So open up the email, X out the person's name that you need to reply to, and you can add them back in at the end.
Right.
And first draft is vent. I call it the brain dump. Dump your thoughts that you need to get across. Everything. Even the emotions, negativity, the rage, 3 exclamation points, all caps. Put it in there. That's the very first thing, the brain dump.
Yep, it's great.
That's first step. Now that you've got it all in there, and maybe it's 2 paragraphs of ranting, do not send that. Before, you might have sent it just like that.
Yep.
Maybe follow a little spell check before sending it. It's anti-persuasive. So we're going to take a couple of minutes, no more than 5 minutes for the following steps. So maybe it takes 5 minutes longer, but if you get what you want and it saves the project, that's 5 minutes. That 5 minutes is immensely worth it.
Yep.
So after the brain dump, you then restructure, meaning you look at what you've written, what you've brain dumped, and you ask yourself, are you saying the right thing in the right order? What is the first most important thing that the recipient sees? Knowing that you want what you want them to do inside their head, and you want them motivated to do it. Internally motivated. Not because they're afraid of punishment or consequences or loss, because now they're on the defensive. They're saying, how can I put up my shield and get a counterattack on this person? Right? We don't want them in counterattack mode. We want them in open mode. So restructure. What are the things that need to know and the order they need to know them? And as you're doing this, as you put it in order, you will find phrases that have all caps. You'll find a sentence that ends with 3 exclamation points. Delete it. Just get rid of it. If it's not part of the order that they need to know and the order they need to know it, just remove it. Just remove it. That's the second stage, is the restructure. Mm-hmm. The third step, very simple. Refine. This is where you ask yourself 2 questions. Now that you've got everything you want to tell them in that email, and you put it in the order that it should probably go, and anything that's obviously escalatory, you just deleted it, you just backspace it out of there, you're going to refine it. Now ask yourself, am I asking or telling precisely what I want? Can they read this email at a glance and know what to do without replying back, what do you mean by X? Can you clarify Y? What do you mean by Z? And you're going to fill in those gaps. And you probably realize that there is little too much emotion and not enough instruction. Remember we talked about sanitizing of emotion and speaking in terms of only the facts, only the truth, only the information? The refined stage is probably where you're going to replace those emotions with step 1, do this, please. Step 2, do this, please. Step 3, do this, please. And it's okay to say please. Even if you're the president and you're writing to a junior employee earning 1/25th your salary.
Sure.
It's okay to say please.
Yep.
You're human beings after all. Both of you. You will both die one day.
Yep.
Ultimately, everyone is equal in that regard.
Yep.
That makes equals of us all. And so that is a kind of a meta principle of communication. People don't like to have authority lorded over them. They know it's coming from the office of the CEO. Right. They know that. They're well aware that you don't have to say please. So putting little things like that where you're giving command, instruction, detail. And when you do use the second person, it's okay to turn it into a question. I need you to do this. Can you do this, please, in this order by this date, and then let this person know that you did, please? Easy. This is what you're doing in the refined stage. And it's surprisingly quick. Once you know that this is the 3-step process you're going to follow, brain dump, restructure, refine, then put the person's name back in there, hit send. The first time you do this, it might be a 10-minute email. But taking 10 minutes instead of 30 seconds could save you 10 days, $10 million.
Yep.
It's worth it to take 10 minutes to do that. And then you'll get easier. And then eventually the venting will be inside of your head of what you want to vent, what you want to put them on blast. And instead you will intuitively sanitize the emotion inside of your head as you begin writing. You'll intuitively call the adverbs, the escalatory language, the you didn't do this and you didn't do that. That doesn't matter. You don't want them seeing themselves, remember multisensory communication, you don't want them seeing themselves under attack. You want them seeing themselves exactly what you want them to do and feeling okay about it. Feeling okay about it. It's empowering language rather than offending communication. I'm attacking you with my spear from across the savannah.
Yep.
It's let's collaborate on this. Let's get us both what we want. And then in that refined stage, that third stage I mentioned, that's where at the end you can put in those because and in order to and so that where it benefits them.
Excellent. Excellent.
Because you've got that vacation coming up and I don't want you to have to worry about X, Y, and Z while you're gone. Now you could have said, you're not gonna be able to go on vacation if you don't do this.
Right.
Not on the fence. If you say, because we want, so that you can have a clear mind before you go on vacation.
Yep.
In order to not have to come out on the weekends, in order to take the time, and it's all about how does this benefit them? Well, you keep your job. Okay, that's the realm of anti-persuasion. Anti-persuasion, where there's threats of punishment, of loss, that's the spear coming at the other person. Right. They're biochemically unable to be persuaded at that point. Now they're ready for counterattack. And the counterattack might be, well, I can't talk to them about that ever again.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm going to have to be looking for a new job.
Yep.
Well, maybe I can find a way out of my employment contract. Maybe I can find a way around this. And now they're in defensive mode. The trust is gone in the relationship.
Yep.
And all problems in construction, at least many of them, as you pointed out, Eric, with your Construction Genius material, many of the expensive problems in construction are people problems.
Absolutely.
And we resolve people problems by persuasive communication, uplifting, win-win communication with reciprocity as a foundation.
Excellent. Joshua, you've been super helpful here. I love this brain dump, restructure, refine framework. And again, that's from your course, The Best Way to Say It. If people want to grab that course and share it with people in their organization, if they want to get to know you a little bit more, how can they do all those things, please?
Yeah. So I use a simple e-learning platform called Gumroad, simple e-learning platform. It's the very first course that people would see when they go to joshualisec.gumroad.com. If anyone's active on Twitter, they can find me at Joshua Lisec, and the link to the course is the very first tweet, my pinned tweet. And I call it The Best Way to Say It because, ironically, one of the things I use in my communication principles is using people's own words right back at them. It's called mirroring. When you mirror someone, you match them, you can lead them where they want to go. So using someone's own language is helpful. And in the case of The Best Way to Say It, and I think this is a tip that will also help people build bonds faster, get trust faster, and in a construction, marketing, and sales context, get to know, like, trust, buy sooner.
Yep.
Using people's own language. And the best way to say it is what people had been my ghostwriting clients, that I would ghostwrite a white paper or an executive report or what have you. They would say, Joshua, what you wrote for me, it wasn't just in my voice. Like, it didn't just sound like me, which it did, but it was the best way to say it. And I'd heard that exact phrase, Eric, year after year after year. Yeah. I thought, well, the outcome of Joshua's writing process is that you get the best way to say what you wanted to say.
Yep.
So the best way to say it.
That's beautiful. Joshua, I appreciate you coming on. I'm going to put the links in the show notes to your Gumroad course, as well as your Twitter handle in the show notes so that people can get in contact with you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us today. And thanks for joining us on Construction Genius.
It's been my pleasure, Eric. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to Construction Genius. I know you're walking away with some great insights on how to be more effective with the written word. Click on the link in the show notes to check out more of Joshua's work, and you can purchase products from him to help you and the people who report to you to be more effective in their written communication. And when you do click on those links, remember that those are affiliate links. What that means is that if you buy something from Josh, I get a kickback, which is kind of sweet. And I never do this, but I'm doing it with Joshua because I know that his work is tremendously important and helpful to you and your people so that you can be better with the written word. So check out those links. Let me know if you have any questions about that, of course, and connect with Joshua on Twitter. He hangs out there quite a bit. I know as you get to know him, you will get to appreciate the work that he does with companies all around the world. Thanks again for listening to Construction Genius.